Hey guys, today we're going to talk about sex, and in particular, in part two of this podcast series that I've been doing here called Five Things That Christian Men Wish Christian Women Knew. And what we wish that you knew about in particular are five things. It's probably many things, but five things that I came up with. In episode number 152, we talked about the first four of those things, and I'll recap that in just a second. But today, the fifth thing that we mentioned that Christian men wish Christian women knew more about was their thoughts about sex. And before I get into that, I want to treat this conversation very carefully, very wisely, I hope, very honestly and practically. But I want to just say at the forefront here that number one, you ought to listen to everything I say, everything that any podcaster says, any author says, and you ought to match it up against the Word of God. Galatians 4:30, I believe, is the passage that says, what does God's Word say about that? And what I would love for you to do is to investigate the things that we're going to talk about here when it comes to sex and men's approach to it through the lens of what does God say about these things. And you might be surprised by what you find. I'm going to share some things here, and I'm going to share things that I think are super practical. But again, everything that I say ought to be compared to the Word of God, and anything that doesn't match with it to you, then exclude that. But I also want you to be aware that for many of us, we come into conversations about sex through the lens of how we were raised and through different experiences we've had. And sex has been extremely painful and harmful, and it's a very sensitive conversation for many of us. I was born in 1977, so today at the recording of this, I'm 48, almost 49. I grew up in the 80s and 90s, and I grew up in a Christian home. And the conversation and ideas around sex were primarily, don't do it, God's against it until you get married, and then it's going to be great. But there really wasn't much of an openness to it. In fact, there was this thing that was labeled at the time the purity culture. And it was the rings promising to not have sex until you get married, and just this look at sex from the lens of don't get near it, don't touch it. And I'm a product of that. And that's my only point there. I'm a product of that. You are a product of the ways that you were trained to think about it as a younger person. And it's impacted you all the way up until wherever you're at today. And it goes with you into your marriage. If you're not married, this is, I hope, a really helpful and meaningful conversation to you. As both a man and a woman, learning to talk about sex, which is a huge part of life and a big part of marriage, it's an important element, something that I talk about a lot because, again, I was not raised to talk about it. I talk about in my book, Let's Talk About Sex, that you can find on Amazon. I talk about this story in there, and I'm not going to repeat the whole thing here, but I talk about this story in that book about this village in Africa where people never talked about, like it was taboo to talk about these alligators that lived in the ponds in their community, and how much damage came from feeling like they could never talk out loud about these things. So people never shared their hurts. They never shared their wisdom. They just simply didn't talk about this thing that was taboo in that culture and all of the ramifications that come from that. And I use that illustration to say, like, when we talk about sex, people come at it from a lot of hurt, a lot of confusion. A lot of Christians don't deal with the conversation of sex out loud. They're not comfortable with it, maybe for their own different reasons. Or again, there's abuse, there's trauma, there's so much that has happened in this world with sex. Now, my point in thinking through all of that is this: why is there so much trouble around the topic? Part of that, at least, has to be that God created sex as this beautiful thing, and the devil hates God, and he hates his most beautiful things. So look in the culture at the things that have been most twisted, the things that were designed to bring glory to God, to bring honor to him: the music industry, the arts, sex, and so many other things. The most beautiful things, family in particular, right? Family is so central and beautiful to the story of God that it gets attacked with the most ferocity. And so we need to address it. We need to talk more openly about it. And when we don't, there's a lot of hurts. And so this is in particular for Christian women to hear the hearts of their men. right? Now, I typically, 99.9% of the time, am talking directly to Christian men, how we can be better disciples of Christ, better followers, better husbands in this case, how we need to die to self, how we need to sacrifice, how we need to learn to love our wives. We need to biblically approach our role as men with more intensity and focus, and we need to align the things that we say we believe with the way that we actually live. That's what we do here all the time. It's the conversations we talk about. I say that because today I really want to talk to you women. And so I'm hoping if you're a guy listening to this, maybe you share it with your wife and say, hey, this is a podcast I listen to, this Christian guy, but it's a conversation about sex where he's talking about 5 things Christian husbands wish their wives knew, and it's addressed to the women. So I'd love for you to listen to this, right? Whatever that is, just send it to her. I don't know, however that works for you. But I would love for Christian women to hear this today because I really want to talk to you. Now, I am not an expert on relationships, marriage, sex, any of that kind of stuff. I'm just a dude. I'm just a man. I have been married, am married happily for 22 years this year. And so I come at this from the perspective of a guy who has lots of conversations about this with other men. I'm a man myself, and I have my own, obviously, perspectives and issues and ideas with some of these things. But I've also written a book. Again, you can find it on Amazon called Let's Talk About Sex. And in that book, me and my co-author, Amy McKinley, of a place called Ultimate Intimacy. You can check that out online. But we talk about 20 things that Christian husbands and wives wish that we knew back and forth about this very topic, but we just don't know how to address it. And the goal in doing that is that we would have stronger marriages, better marriages, stronger families that kick the divorce cycle out of our culture, and they build in a thriving sex life and a beautiful family life. And we get to live these fuller, better lives, but we'll never do it if we don't talk, if we don't learn to communicate. And so the heart behind this for me is that I want to help marriages thrive. I want to help us be better disciples of Jesus in our everyday practical lives. Because when there's a disconnect, saying, I love Jesus, but I'm struggling and failing in my marriage, it hurts. It hurts those that are involved. It hurts the kids. It hurts our communities and everybody else. And so we need to learn to take on those uncomfortable things. Lastly, if this is a conversation that's just too painful for you, then it's just not for you, and that's okay. I know many stories, again, where abuse and trauma at the hands of people that should have been protectors, or even that from those that they never knew. I know the stories, and I would just say if this is like too sensitive a topic, then it's okay to just pass on this one. But if you are in a relationship that is good but not great, or it's just like maybe even great, but this area of your life could get better, or whatever, if there's a fairly healthy element to your marriage and you want to just get better and healthier and stronger, then this is for you. And I hope that you'll take this just again as just an out loud conversation, not as this is completely true for you. Some of it may be, some of it may not apply to you at all. But just listen to it in general, if nothing else. And then if you take nothing else away from this, talk about it. That's the thing I want you to hear is like conversations, most importantly, between you and your spouse need to be had. Christian married couples, talk. Have the conversations about sex. Have it regularly because your lives will change. I can tell you, the ideas and issues when you're first married versus 20 years in, like I am now, and probably 40 years in, like God willing, he gives us, it changes. Sex changes, life changes, needs change. But you'll never stay in touch and connected like you're supposed to be or need to be or want to be if you never learn to communicate about these things. That's my real heart behind this. So I hope you hear that clearly. All right, for the women. If you missed episode number 152, I just want to encourage you, start there. Because we're talking about 5 things that Christian men wish that Christian women knew. And we talk about 4 things in that episode, number 152. We talked about how appreciation matters. And I'm not going to go through all of them in detail at all. I just want to quickly remind you here and then say, go listen to that episode. But we talked about the first 4 there. And we said appreciation matters to a man. And so how do you show that to him? How do you let him know that you see him and appreciate him? that matters so much to him just going, I'll die for this lady. I'm appreciated, I'm seen, I'm valued, I'm loved. That matters to a guy, maybe more than he knows to say to you. We talked about how respect is crucial. Man to man, we understand respect, but a woman is often portrayed, no, that's the wrong word. A woman is often disrespectful to a man in ways that she's not aware of. Her tone, her voice, the way she says things to him, it can sometimes feel very disrespectful. When a man feels disrespected, he lashes out in unrespectful, unloving kind of ways. And so we talked about that. We talked about how men need clarity. Like women just, you might think that your guy understands you, especially if you've been married long enough. Like certainly he understands what I'm saying here. And I'm just telling you, many times it's not because we're dumb, but we need more clarity. So like we talk about that there. We don't know what you want if you don't say it. And we also say, maybe try to say it quicker and get to the point, because we don't handle the spider web conversations as well as you. Last thing is, we said that men carry hurt. Men have been hurt in their lives like women have, like you have as a woman. But men don't know how to even identify feelings well, let alone express them well. And again, as with everything else, this is in general. It's not true necessarily for everybody. But in general, men struggle to go, God, what is that thing that I'm feeling deep inside that feels so uncomfortable? And when they don't know how to address it, they don't know how to fix it. They don't know where to take it even. They just don't know how to identify that hurt that they feel. And so it often comes out in different ways. And we want women to understand that, yeah, we've been hurt. Like we look like grown, big men, strong men who don't need anything, and yet we're needy. And we need you to understand those elements of our life and our heart. Those four things matter so much to a man, that you would understand those things. But very few things in general matter more to a man than his sex life. And so the fifth thing, out of the five things that Christian men wish that you Christian women understood, the fifth thing was this: men want to be wanted sexually. They want you as the wife to want them sexually. Now, when you married your husband, you wanted him. In general, I feel like I have to keep saying that. Hopefully I don't. Again, may not be your story. Just hopefully I'll stop saying that along the way here. But again, in general, it's probably true. There's a desire for one another sexually. You wanted him. You were willing to have sex with him. You were like adventurous. You're like trying new things. It was exciting to be with him. You were looking forward to it. And it was fun. It was connecting, and both sides had their cup filled. It was just this beautiful thing. And again, I'm not taking this here saying, let's make marriage like the honeymoon. It's not at all what I'm saying. But what I want you to say, or what I want you to remember, is that there is a time in your marriage where it was that way. Hopefully it was that way for you. And what I think men would love to say to you, women listening, is that it really matters to him that you would want sex with him and from him, and give sex in a way that's pleasing to him. He needs and wants that level of sexual connection with you still. And you'd say, gosh, we've done it so many times. Certainly he's over that, right? He's not over it. And God has wired men differently in this way. And again, this is just one side of this conversation. There are many other conversations, again, where we have to understand like a woman's point of view. And that's why the book, Let's Talk About Sex, is so important, because Amy brings in thousands and thousands of women's perspectives from surveys and research of how Christian women have responded to what they want from their marriage and from their husbands. And right. So there's balance to this. There's two sides to this. But this podcast episode is really for you women to hear from the heart of men, right? Some of the things that we mentioned in part one there in episode number 152, like appreciation. Like, how do I show appreciation to him? How do I show him that I respect him? How do I let him know that I value him and want him still? Almost all of those things that we talked about in episode 152 can be expressed to your husband in the form of sex or sexual context of some sort. So I want to jump in now to just saying this. What would your man love for you to know about your sex life together? Hey guys, thanks for listening to the Nate Whitson podcast. I wanted to interrupt the show just for a second to let you know that there are all kinds of great resources for Christian men who want to be better husbands, better fathers, better followers of Jesus, and just better men in general. If that's you or maybe somebody that you know, then be sure to head over to getinthefight.club, that's .club, and check out the books and resources, the coaching material, the newsletter, the Fight Club. There's so much there for you. Getinthefight.club. Check it out today. If you're serious about being the man that God meant for you to be, and you're looking for tools or resources or just help in general, then be sure to head over there right now and check it out. All right, that's it for now. Thanks for listening. Now back to the Nate Whitson podcast. There are 6 things that I'm going to talk about here. And again, some of them may match up with your beliefs and interests in marriage particularly, and some of them may not. But again, I want you to think through these things. Don't get defensive of these things. Don't assume any of these things, but just hear these things. And then I want you to, more than anything, talk to your husband about these things as it relates to you. But what would your husband love for you to know or do when it comes to your sex life? Number 1, I just said men wish that women would initiate sex more often. How often are you, ladies, the ones that would initiate even just like a sexual flirtation, right? Like a text of some kind that just says, hey, thinking about you, looking forward to tonight. That's as like PG as possible, and yet that's all he'll think about. If you were to initiate the conversation even with him, if you were to come and whisper something like that in his ear or flirt with him however you do, letting him know, number 1, that you think about it, that you know it matters to him. I'm telling you, I want you to understand like how important that is to the heart of your husband. It will drive him wild if you just said, hey, tonight or 2 nights from now, this is what I'm thinking about. What do you think? He'll go crazy. It's exactly what he is wishing that you would do. Initiating sex with him is a way to connect with him and say, I see you and I care for you, and I know this matters to you and I'm here for you. When you initiate, it tells him that you want him. And this is so key. It tells him that you enjoy it, that you understand his needs again. And what I would tell you is that from a man's perspective, he hates it when he feels like he has to beg for it. But it means so much to him when you don't make him feel guilty about it, or you don't roll your eyes or be like, here we go again, I guess we can do that, or whatever. If you make it feel like it's this chore or this burden, or you're just going, I can't be sexy anymore, I'm 40, or whatever it is, right? You're going to crush the heart of your husband, who maybe isn't in the same place as you. And again, it takes understanding. It takes conversation. It takes caring for one another to just understand the differences, right? But when you're willing and wanting sex with your husband, it shows him love in a way that matters to a man more than you maybe understand. And so you being the one every once in a while just to roll over and lean over and just be like, hey, are you interested? I'm ready, or whatever, however your language is with each other, right? You be the one to initiate sex more often, and your husband will go crazy. He will love that. Send the flirty text. Do the flirting throughout the day. Talk about it. Let him know what you're thinking, or let him know when it's good for you, or whatever, right? And he will love all of this. So that's number 1. Number 2, what do your Christian husbands wish that you knew, ladies? He wants you to know to please don't ever use sex as a weapon against him. Many men feel trapped when their wives use sex to control the house or control the mood or to manipulate a situation and get what they want. When it's done intentionally just to get what they want, or she knows she can withhold in order to exert some sort of control, it's such a painful thing for a man when that's the case. When she's never in the mood, when it's always an excuse, when he feels like, again, he almost like he has to beg for it. It is something that pushes a man away in a very strong way. When a woman talks negatively about sex to her friends in front of him or to him directly, and she bashes him, that's all you ever think about. That's all you ever want, right? It shatters a dream. It shatters a hope where he goes, okay, wait a minute. The only legitimate place for me to go to have this sexual release and enjoyment and connection that means so much to me, the only place that I can go as a Christian man is to my wife. I have to try to train my eyes to not see all the things that are out there. I have to try to train my mind to put all of my affection and attention to her. And the only thing she says to me is, why is this all you care about? Why is this the only thing that you want, or whatever it is? Or she manipulates it, or she holds it against him, or she's unenthusiastic in it, or whatever. Gradually, slowly, you went from like that honeymoon experience to just completely disconnected. I'm telling you, don't use sex in that way against him, because you will crush his heart. It will push him away from you so much, and it will cause this deep divide where when you do feel in the mood, you're like, what's his problem now? I'm here. Why is he now the one pushing back here? And it's because a guy doesn't like to be manipulated like that. He doesn't like to feel bad for being married, for wanting to have sex with his wife. And if it happens long enough, it can really cause a lot of damage. So don't weaponize sex in your marriage. The third thing that I said was this: ask your man what he likes most or wants more of. If possible, then respond to it and offer to do those things more. Now, again, this has to be, done in light of respect. It's not immoral. It's not unbiblical. It's agreed upon, and it's good for your marriage. What does God say about some of these things? Not a lot. And so it really is about you figuring that out together. What you're comfortable with, what's loving, what's connecting, what's agreed, what's okay for you. But once you're willing to get to that point and he says, hey, I would like more of this or whatever it is, then what I would say to you is, like, a man would love, and again, this whole podcast is trying to do this, say very clearly and practically things that he doesn't know how to say to you. And so I'm going to be the one to say it to you for him. He would love certain things. He has things in mind. And again, it might change over time, but he would love it if your sex life looked or felt a little different at times, or did more of this or more of that or whatever. And it will just mean so much to him. That's it. It's your way of just showing love to him by saying, hey, I'm interested in you. Like, this may not be my favorite thing. It may not be my biggest drive, but I know it is for you. What sounds fun to you? And then offering, again, initiating that with him more often. When you offer it without begrudging him or making him feel like, all right, fine, I guess so, or I'll do it because, but I'm not really into it, that also will just make him be like, never mind, forget it. If that's the way it is, then don't worry about it. But a woman who says, I love you, I'm into it. Like, I'm here for you. Like, I'm your helper. God gave me to you, and in particular in this area. I know this is important to you, so it's important to me. Which, by the way, flip that around, and how amazing would that be for you? Imagine if, as you start to love your husband in the ways that mean so much to him, he now responds in love back to you. And you say, man, it would mean so much to me if you fill in the blank. And he starts responding to you that way. The other side of it is, imagine if you clearly communicate to your husband and say, I really would like it if we did more of this. Hold hands, go to the movies, have dates, whatever you fill in the blank with that matters so much to you, and he holds it against you the whole time. Imagine how that would feel to you. Imagine if he's fine, I guess, I don't want to, but I will, or whatever. If the roles are reversed, imagine what that would feel like. And imagine if the roles are reversed in the most positive, beautiful way. Imagine if he says to you, okay, this is important to you. This is of interest to you. I'm all in because I'm all in for you. I'm here for you. I'll sacrifice for you. I will die for you. I will die to what I wish, and I want to do what you wish. And I want to do it joyfully, happily, and more often. Again, imagine a marriage that works that way versus what we so often see, again, where sex is weaponized, or it's done begrudgingly, or we just turn like into these old people all of a sudden and go like, I guess I'm just done. Like, where do we go wrong there? What happened that we got to that point, and how do we fix it? I think conversations like this could be so helpful. The last thing about this, about asking him what he wants more of and offering it to him more often, pornography is a scourge in our world But it isn't even just pornography. It's commercials now. It's movies. It's music. It's all these things. And the thing that the culture has tapped into that a Christian man does feel is this idea that in these sinful expressions of pornography and everything in between, the thing that's happening that's so appealing is that the woman wants the man. And think about that. And again, like this is, I hope I'm saying this clearly enough, all of those means outside of God's way are not just sinful, but they're hurtful and they're harming us and they are stealing and robbing and destroying. They are awful. But as a woman, you have to understand that a man is saying, look, I don't want that and I don't want her, but I love the idea of a woman who would want me and do stuff like that with me. And you have to figure out together then, like, again, what those parameters are. But he would love for you to hear, look, it's not even about pornography. It's not even about the appeal of actually some other woman. I don't want another woman. I want you. But I want us to be more engaged enthusiastically or like that there's genuine interest and love being expressed here. A guy doesn't know how to say that. And he knows it's a no-no everywhere else. A man's only legitimate source of release sexually is his wife in Christian marriage. And when it's done begrudgingly or as a weapon or just it's never initiated or she completely has disengaged from it or said I'm too old for it or just uninterested or whatever that is, it just, a Christian guy goes, where am I supposed to go? What do I do with this desire? And again, what does the world do? It just dangles it right in front of him everywhere he goes. And so it's helpful to your marriage to just simply build it and make it stronger and to recognize the fight, recognize the battle here, and recognize your role as a Christian woman to your husband is to just simply say, I'm going to fill in this need so that there's a no need for you to look anywhere else. You have everything you need in this area of your life that matters to you. And I do it because I love you, because God's brought us together. And again, what if he doesn't respond to that though? What if he doesn't start to love you that way? Your job is still to give 100% in your marriage to your husband, even if he doesn't deserve it. And guess what? The same is true vice versa. Scriptures will say that husbands ought to love their wives like Christ loved the church. He has a responsibility to give 100% to you, regardless of your response. And so my conversations typically to a man in this case is, your job is to ask your wife, what does she need more of, and do it enthusiastically. And if she doesn't respond to you sexually, it is still your responsibility, men, to love her unconditionally. Now I'm just simply flipping that to you women and saying the same thing that I'm telling him in these other podcasts. Your job is to love unconditionally, regardless if he deserves, quote unquote, a better sex life like that. You've married and you've made a commitment to Christ. And this is one way that you can fulfill that is by just simply hearing these conversations we're having and working that out together in your marriage. Okay, number 4. The fourth thing that maybe a Christian husband might wish he could say to his Christian wife, but he doesn't know how to even address it or broach the subject is like he maybe would like to spice it up sometimes in the bedroom and would be really excited if you were open to new ideas. Now, that could be maybe a bedroom game, or even just renting a hotel and getting away for a weekend sometime, or having the kids go to grandparents' house so you can have a date night at home and then just make it a fun, special night. Whatever that looks like or means to spice it up to you is going to vary greatly compared to everybody else. And again, what does the Bible say about things like sex toys and different stuff? Nothing. What does it say about using a bedroom game? Nothing. Because those things weren't things. But it has a lot to say about dying to self, connecting, loving one another, serving one another. Again, doing things that are biblical. They're not immoral. They're not illegal, right? Those kinds of things. It talks about like we don't treat our wives or our husbands as commodities to be used, right? So all of that, if I say, is of course in the backdrop, but it needs to be said. When it's all appropriate, though, when you're in a healthy relationship, sex does matter to your marriage, and keeping things fun and keeping things fresh years and years into it, it is important. And so you simply just need to know, like your husband might say, I just don't necessarily want the exact same two positions that we go to every time. Like it would be fun if we did more flirtatious stuff or more of this or more of that. It goes along with number 3, but it's a little bit more specific, saying not even just when or how often, but like maybe we try new things, or maybe we like, I would like this or more of that. And just recognizing a guy doesn't know how to say this very well. If there's anything in general that men struggle with, it's learning to communicate and share feelings. He's very nervous to talk to you explicitly like this. And that's why I hope this conversation and this podcast today helps. I hope that it creates the opportunity for you to say, hey, I was listening to this podcast about sex and how Christian men wish they could talk more with their wives like this. And I want to be able to talk about anything with you, right? As you listen to this as a Christian woman, if you could have a conversation like that with your husband and use this podcast as the excuse or the launching point to say, hey, I was listening to this, just dawns on me, like, is there anything that you've wanted to talk about? Things that we could do sexually, or just things that you want more and need more from me, but you maybe haven't felt comfortable to talk about it. I know that can be really awkward, and I feel a little awkward even talking about it here, but I want us to have the best life that we can. I want us to have the best marriage and sex life. And whatever matters to you matters to me. Would you like to talk about that sometime? I think I would be open to that if you would be. I'm telling you, if you would say something along those lines, it might be the only thing that you ever need to say, and it could change things in amazing ways in your marriage and sex life. And so I hope that you will. He probably has some interest in spicing things up. And again, to whatever level that is appropriate for you and your marriage, do that. Look for that. Invite that conversation in. Your marriage matters, and your sex life is a big part of your marriage. It's not the whole thing for sure, but it matters to your man. And if he has no idea how to express it and he just bottles this thing up, then it eventually just feels like this heavy weight that he has no idea how to lift. And you could help him so much by just broaching the conversation with him and saying, hey, let's talk about all of these things. Number 5, I just said this. Men use sex to connect with you. And they do it to find validation even about some deep-seated things that happen in a man's life that, again, messages that a man wrestles with and he wants validation from, but he doesn't even know how to maybe share this with you or express it to you. But a man has questions that start from the time he's a little boy all the way through, never really quite goes away in his life. Questions about, do I have what it takes? Am I man enough? Can I do this? Can I win? Whatever that is. And validation comes in lots of different ways, but those are core messages to a man. And when a man gets married and a man has sex and a man has a wife who wants him and is open and expressive and enthusiastic and all of that, responsive to him, it validates him and it connects him to her in deep ways. Again, ways that he may not even know how to verbalize or express clearly to you. But women can validate men by simply enjoying him. When a woman is expressive sexually to her husband and open to him that way, it clicks with a guy. There's something in him, again, that isn't always verbalized, but there's something deep inside that happens where he feels like, I'm enough. And again, as a believer, I recognize the answer to that is like, I find my value in him, in Christ alone. That is so true. But to act like this key relationship in our marriage and this key part of our marriage isn't necessary, I don't think that's true at all. God has given us our spouse to complement us and to grow us and to lead us into more of a mature relationship with Christ. And when we're off in our marriage, you're going to be off in your relationship with God. This is such an important relationship. It's foundational to your growth in Christ, to your maturity in him. And again, when a man is healthy and he's strong because he's validated and he connects with his wife and things are good at home, he can then go be strong in other places. But when a man is broken at home, when this area of his life is broken and he feels like, I don't know how to fix this or address this, he's less of the man he could be everywhere else too. So I just want you to hear that your man might have things in his life that he's never said to you, that wouldn't even know how to, but he's trying to check this box or click this validation button that's deep in his soul to say that I still have what it takes. She still wants me. I still got it. There's something about that in many men that, again, only his wife can give him through a really strong marriage and sex life. Last thing. I just said talk about sex with your husband. The sixth thing was just talk about sex. Now, talking about sex, again, is awkward. It is not something that is easy, and it seems odd. Think about how odd that actually is. When you marry your best friend and you get into this relationship with him, it seems be the easiest thing to talk about. You're already doing it. There's no secrets, right? There's no shame in it. There's no hiddenness. There's no boundaries to it. So why is it so hard to talk about sex with the person that we love the most and are married to? There's a lot of reasons for it probably, but the answer is just that it is. For most people, it just is. And it's because of, again, individual baggage that we bring into it, individual perceptions, unspoken needs like these things that we're talking about. Just there's a lot that goes into it that makes it difficult, primarily the spiritual battle around it. The devil hates God, and he hates marriage, and he hates family. And so there's this spiritual component as well that just makes sex important and also so fought against, and makes it hard for us to come together as a husband and wife. And we have to recognize that up front. So what I would love to see happen is that you learn to talk about sex together. Learn to be open in discussing things like this about what you enjoy, what's working, what's not working, what you are interested in, how to connect better emotionally, like what you need as a woman and what he needs as a man. Learn to talk about expectations, learn to talk about future dreams, learn to talk about seasons of life, and learn to talk about all the things that go into it. How your mood can be great one day and terrible the next, how you can be totally in the mood, but sometimes things just stop working as you get older, and things change, bodies change, needs change, life changes. But if we never talk about it, how are we going to know? How are we going to love each other? How are we going to respect each other? How are we going to grow as a couple together if we don't do that? But if you will talk, things can change. And so I just want you to consider just using this again as a launching point to say, our marriage matters. You matter to me, and I want to do the best I can to make your needs met and to help you and to serve you and to love you in ways that are most meaningful to you. And then learn to talk about that together from both angles. How amazing would that be? Do you know, ladies, as we wrap up here, do you know what your husband is thinking about when it comes to your sex life today? When's the last time that you've had any kind of like real conversation about it? What's in the way? Why is talking about it tricky? What's the worst that would happen if you did bring it up? What are the things that he wishes for? What are the things that you wish for? What are the ways that you can serve even better? What I would just say is this: talk about it. Talk about it. Find a way to have real conversations. Find a way to serve one another. Find a way to break down those barriers and say, what if we started over? What if we started fresh? What if we could just make this the best it could be? What would that look like? Let's talk about those things. And again, I know it sounds like a pitch for the book, but the obvious, you don't need to buy the book if you don't want to, right? Just talk about these things. I just gave you all those ideas. But if you want more help, go to Amazon and buy the book. Let's Talk About Sex, 20 Things Christian Husbands and Wives Wish Each Other Knew or Would Do, but don't know how to tell you. And read through that, but read it together. Talk about it together. The whole point of the book, the whole point of this podcast is that you would talk about it together. In the book or in this, it's just one question at a time. And it's just, here's some things, right? Let's talk about emotional needs. Let's talk about physical needs. Let's talk about dreams. Let's talk about wishes. Let's talk about hurts. Let's talk. That's the most important thing. There's also in our fight club, there's a free fight club for Christian men that we do. And there's a quarterly challenge that comes out always in the first quarter because I always match it up with Valentine's. But there's a marriage challenge where I just give specific questions for couples to talk about, things about money and family and sex and different areas. And if you want it, email me, nate@getinthefight.club, nate@getinthefight.club, and just say, hey, listen to your podcast. I'm interested in the marriage challenge. Would you send it to me or whatever? And I'll send it to you. Absolutely free, no strings attached. My goal is to help Christian couples, Christian married couples, to have a thriving sex life, better communication, stronger marriages, because it matters. It matters to your man. It matters to you as a woman. It matters to your kids. It matters to your legacy. It matters to the world. And man, keep fighting for a stronger marriage and a better sex life. It matters. And I hope that this conversation helps. All right, that's it for today. If you want to learn more, go to getinthefight.club. You can find all kinds of resources, tools, things to help you out when it comes to your marriage and sex life and everything else. Get the book there, but find out more, getinthefight.club, and I'll see you soon. Hey guys, thanks so much for being here today and listening to the show. Please be sure to head over to the website at getinthefight.club. And before you go, if you haven't already, please subscribe, click the like button, and leave us a positive 5-star review. It makes a huge difference whenever you do. Have a great day. Go get in the fight.